We women spend most of our time in camp, tending to our children and working close around the hearths. Over the fires and in earth ovens, we prepare daily food. In the fall, we parch seeds and dry meat for the coming winter. The smoke burns our lungs and brings tears to our eyes. Even so, we are happiest at our hearths where the families gather. Not even the old ones remember when the people were first drawn to this special place. We came from far away where mountains were few and the air was dry. Water, wood, and food were scarce, and we often went hungry. Weak, with few possessions, we left that place, never to return. My people like it here. We live peacefully with one another, in harmony with this land favored by the spirits of the deer. The men leave camp often to hunt deer and jackrabbits. Most always they are good providers, but sometimes they're gone for days, returning with only a small fawn or a porcupine. When that happens, we are saddened, feeling that we may have somehow offended the spirits. While the hunters are away, we set snares to catch the shy cottontail in the brush beside the stream. The children and old ones help gather berries and collect firewood. When seeds of the prickly pear and goosefoot are ready, we collect them and dry them in the sun. Then we mix the seeds with venison and fat to make pemmican that will sustain us during the freezing time.
Barton Gulch archaeological site that we've been investigating for the last 6 years is truly a remarkable late Paleoindian site. It offers a wide variety of research opportunities that allow all of the collaborators working independently and then together to pull together and reconstruct a much more comprehensive picture of the nature of hunter-gatherer life in this part of the northern Rockies than we've heretofore been challenged to even attempt to reconstruct. From this vantage, you can look out over the entire valley of Barton Gulch, looking west toward the Ruby Range. The area, with the exception of the roads and disturbance by late 19th century and modern gold placer mining, looks very much like it did 9,400 years ago when the peoples of Barton Gulch lived here and interacted with resources, interacted with nature. It's really a semi-arid basin inside the northern Rocky Mountains, but it has perennial water, a wide variety of vegetation, many of the types of which are utilized by early Native Americans. And it's frequented by pronghorn, mule deer, white-tailed deer, and would have offered a relatively well sheltered settlement location even into early winter. It, I think, inspires a new sense of awareness of how many people were actually in this part of the world 9,400 years ago. I mean, that's actually only 2,000 years after the earliest presence of humans has been documented in this part of the New World. But there were many people here, and they were camping here in large numbers, probably groups of people associated with one another through kinship, who moved around intermittently, taking advantage of the best resource opportunities that were available to them. This place was an uncommon attraction, it seems. There not only was a wide range of mineral, animal, and plant resources, and shelter and fuel and fresh water, but it was a place where sufficient resources were available that large numbers of people, say perhaps 120 to 150 people, were able to camp together at a single time, perhaps for weeks.
This is a really unique site. I spent graduate school years, focusing on all the Paleo-Indian research in this part of the world, and found an overwhelming abundance of focusing in on male activities, and it was almost always the big kill sites. The bigger the bones were, the more exciting the site was to the archaeologists. So the literature was full of that. And so I focused my own research on trying to create a model for what's out there that we're not seeing, that's the more subtle kinds of day-to-day living. And this site is that. It's these family hearth units or whatever, but it's a lot of it's more women-oriented activity. It's bringing in the seeds and the steady protein. It's not just the big kill. That's what's exciting about this site, that it's an open door to all sorts of new ways of looking at these people who lived so long ago.
I think I've got something here. Ooh, looks nice. I think it's a point. Man.
Let's see it.
Is it complete?
Yeah, I think it is.
Right.
Look at that.
Great.
What is it? Is it chert?
Oh no, it's obsidian.
How about the grinding? Is it ground?
You can feel it.
Look at that.
Wash it off.
Yeah.
Right, someone got a wash basin?
Bucket. Where's the bucket?
Bucket of water.
Is it whole? Yeah. This is a beautiful piece.
Complete.
Yeah, take a look at this.
The techniques that I use in flint knapping are very similar to what was used prehistorically.
I use a sandstone hammer to literally chip the flakes off the underside of the piece that I'm working. And I later changed to a pressure flaker, either an antler tine or a copper tip tine, to push flakes off. The pressure flaker tends to give a much smoother finished appearance to it, as well as provides the final finesse where the point or the landslip that I'm making has a finished edge. I can also achieve a much sharper edge on it. Unlike a lot of other flint knappers, I have not gone into the aspect of trying to be perfect in the manufacturing or to try to go into aesthetically attractive pieces. I try to keep my flint knapping more to the level of what the Indians actually did or what was done prehistorically.
We trade with others from the West who offer the precious obsidian in exchange for gray quartzite we gather nearby. The obsidian is flaked by our knappers into sharp points that they attach to atlatl darts. A heated rock is used to melt pitch from a pine tree. The hunters chew deer sinew until it is pliable. Then they stretch the moist sinew and wrap each point securely to a dart. The obsidian points have power, and we offer them to the deer as tokens of our respect. In turn, the deer give their lives to us, so we can have strength and good health.
The earliest evidence of it is in the Upper Paleolithic of Western Europe about 25,000 years ago. And it is the dominant hunting weapon system in the Americas, throughout the Americas, for at least the first 9,000 years. And at Barton Gulch, 9,400 years ago, people were hunting deer and probably jackrabbits using the atlatl.
The hunter would have to get close enough to deliver his dart in a reasonably assured manner to make a lethal kill, and with a fairly consistent hit ratio. So the skill of the hunter would be very critical to success of hunting with the atlatl and dart, as it is with any other weapon system.
This is one of the 16 Paleo Kitchens located at the Barton Gulch site. This is the real-life excavated feature concluded 2 years ago. We've already recovered all of the archaeological materials, the animal remains, the plant remains from this particular feature, which was really loaded and extremely informative. There are three classes of features. This large, fairly shallow basin-shaped one in the center has an oxidation rim around it in red, because this is where they produce the coals. They burned pine, willow, and sagebrush in large amounts and took the coals from that big feature, put it in the bottom of these large, deep features that go around it. Here there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ovens. They then placed the coals in those ovens and then went through a process of introducing plant and animal remains to produce the foodstuffs on which they depended.
What I'm doing is replicating these feature complexes that we're finding on site. I'm going to try a variety of procedures in these roasting pits, in different types of layering, different types of insulating materials, and hopefully from this a better understanding of how these types of features were used will become apparent. The first stage is making the fire to create enough coals to transfer to a roasting pit where the people are roasting primarily two types of seeds, slim-leaf goosefoot and prickly pear cactus, and then also including some meat, possibly of deer and rabbit. And this process, after you get the coals, what I've done is transferred a layer of coals to the bottom of a roasting pit, then laid some insulating material, which is, in this case, it's a scirpus or American bulrush. Then I've bagged up in a rabbit skin some deer meat and some prickly pear seeds, laid that on top of the insulating materials, then laid another layer of the scirpus over the food and covered that with coals.
To date, I've identified 31 taxa of plant species in the macrofossil record, all of which can be found either on site or in very close proximity to the site. So I think the implications there are that the environment, the site environment, is remarkably similar to what it was 9,400 years ago. The cooking features at Barton Gulch are filled with charcoal, and I think at this point 3 species have been identified: sagebrush, pine, and willow. And of course those species are out there now. There are actually several species of pine. The most common in the immediate vicinity of the site would be limber pine, but we don't have the ability at the moment to actually identify the pine charcoal to species. We just know it's from the same genus, Pinus. Far and away the most abundant food species are prickly pear and goosefoot is actually the most abundant. I'm also picking up other species in some of the hearths, although not nearly as abundant as the goosefoot and the prickly pear seeds. And some of these species, if you look at the ethnohistoric record and the contemporary record of plant use among Native Americans, you see that the only uses for some of these species is for medicinal purposes. And so I think overall, if you looked at the plant record at Barton Gulch, it's telling us that not only are these people involved with carefully thought out cooking and processing of plant foods, but they were also involved with the exploitation of plants as medicinal remedies also.
My research is involved with trying to learn what species of animals are present at the site. Deer are the most abundant species far and away, with rabbit, both cottontail and jackrabbit, probably coming in second. We have a very small number of bones of porcupine and other rodents. Secondly, I'm trying to determine whether these bones were all brought in, whether the animals were brought in by the peoples living at the site and consumed, or whether they were brought in by scavengers or by other natural processes. It's quite clear that the deer were being consumed by the peoples living at the site. Many of the bones have cut marks on them from stone tools, from skinning and butchery, removal of meat, and so forth. And many of the leg bones that contain marrow have been broken open, and the hammerstone impact scars, where the people hit the bone with a hammerstone to break it open, are very evident, very clear. The bones have been fairly thoroughly pulverized. Very few of the bones are still complete. This indicates to us that the people were using the carcasses fairly thoroughly. The only tools we've seen so far, the only bone tools, are the needles that have been found, the very finely made eyed needles that several have been found at the site. These bone needles are unusual. They've not been found in large numbers at other sites from this time period. So it's pretty exciting to get these. They indicate to us some of the functions that the animal bones as well as the animal hides probably were being put to at this site. So this indicates that not only that was this a site where animals were being butchered, but that other sorts of domestic activities were taking place here.
Well, every year we add to our database our array of tools some of the special bone items, the eyed needles, are really unique for this time period. You know, every day it's sort of like Christmas. They uncover new things. And if you look at this site with this wonderful floor plan of the so-called Paleo Kitchens and the little earth ovens, etc., and many, many of these scrapers that are hide working tools that are in all shapes, all lithic materials, all sizes, there is a lot more going on than just a little hunting.
Time passes quickly as we work long days in our kitchens, drying meat and seeds for the coming winter. The days are getting shorter now, and the nights colder. When the snow comes, we will move camp to the valley bottom, along the big river where the snow is not deep. The old ones tell us that recent summers have been hotter and longer than those of their youth. The stream flows with less water than before, and there is less grass for the deer and the antelope. It may be that someday we will not return here in the spring. We have grown fond of this special place. It will be difficult to move on. But such has always been the way of the people.
Archaeology and the allied disciplines that contribute information about paleo environments and past ecological systems are virtually the only way that we have of looking into deep human pasts on our planet. There is no surviving Native American memory, so we must dig and extract these small bits of information and pieces of tangible materials from the earth, and then weave it together into a kind of fabric that approximates what life might have been. And that's the best hope for the present of knowing about the past.